Today we are doing shoulder goniometry. We are measuring the glenohumeral range of motion both active and passively. The first movement we're going to do is flexion of the shoulder. The end feel is firm. The normal range of motion is 100 degrees to 115. The landmarks that we are using are at the center is the lateral aspect of the greater tubercle. The stationary arm will be at the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. The movement arm will be at the mid-axillary line of the thorax. The first movement we are going to measure is active range of motion. The next range of motion that we're going to measure is the passive range of motion of flexion. Going. The next movement that we're doing is extension. The end feel is firm. The normal range of motion is 20 degrees to 25 degrees. The landmarks that we're using, the center is on the lateral aspect of the greater tubercle. The stationary arm is at the mid-axillary line of the thorax, and the movement arm is on the lateral condyle of the humerus. The first range of motion that we're going to test is active. The next range of motion that we're going to do is passive range of motion of extension. The next movement that we're going to do is abduction of the shoulder. The end feel is firm. The normal range of motion is 90 degrees to 125 degrees. The landmarks that we are using for the center, the anterior aspect of the acromial process. The stationary arm is going to be on the midline of the anterior aspect of the sternum. The movement arm will be on the medial epicondyle of the humerus. The first range of motion we are going to study is active. The next range of motion that we're going to study for abduction is passive range of motion. The next movement that we're going to study is the external rotation of the shoulder. The end feel is firm. The normal range of motion is 80 degrees to 90 degrees. The landmarks that we are going to use for the center is the Okernon process. The stationary arm will be perpendicular to the floor, and the movement arm will align with the ulna and use the ulnar styloid process as a reference point. The first range of motion that we're going to study is active. The next range of motion that we're going to do is passively external rotation. The next and final movement that we're going to go over is internal rotation of the shoulder. The end feel is firm. The normal range of motion is 50 degrees to 60 degrees. And the landmarks that we are going to use for the center is going to be at the Okernon process. The stationary arm is going to be perpendicular to the floor, and the movement arm is going to be in line with the ulna and uses the ulnar styloid process as a reference point. The first range of motion we're going to measure is active range of motion. The next movement that we are going to measure is passive range of motion for internal rotation.
46.
Go.
And that's all the range of motions of the shoulder that we can do passively and actively.